Hey guys, Coach Justin here. This is a kind of condensed cars routine. For those that maybe getting on and off the floor is a little bit tough, maybe doing some of the standing variations is a little bit tough. The reality is when it comes to cars, as long as you're in a position where you can block the rest of your body from moving, you're off to a good start. So what we're going to be doing is kind of taking care of some of the bigger components of cars here. We're going to be doing the neck, the thoracic spine, the shoulders, the scapula, so shoulder blades, and the hips, and the ankles, all right? So all we're going to need is a chair. First thing we really need to be familiar with is our sit bones. So sit bones is essentially the shelf of where your hamstring meets your butt. And it's also defined as a nice flat back position, like you've been told your whole life how to sit. So we don't want to be rounded out like this, okay? So throughout this entire thing, we want to be on our sit bones, okay? Now when it comes to cars, remember, like I already kind of said, think of it like the robot dance. We only want to move the joint we're trying to mobilize and move nothing else, all right? So let's get started with the neck cars. I want you to imagine there's a Sharpie sticking out of your chin, and we're basically trying to draw as big of a controlled circle as we can with our chin without moving anything else. So again, we find our sit bones, we push our hands towards the ground almost as if they're magnetized towards the ground, okay? We begin by bringing the chin to the chest. We're gonna go this way, if that's your left or right, I'm not sure on camera, but we're gonna trace the collarbone with the chin as much as we can. Once we run out of room, we're gonna start to look up. And as we look up, continue to look over your shoulder. Now we're drawing kind of the top of the circle. Okay, we're resisting the urge to shrug the shoulders or move the torso so everything stays still. Now we're looking over the opposite shoulder as we bring the chin down to the collarbone, trace it back to the middle. Okay, you're gonna do anywhere from 2 to 3 repetitions each way. Next is going to be the thoracic cars. So this name comes from the fact that we are mobilizing the thoracic spine, the biggest portion of your spine. Finding and staying on the sit bones is very important for this drill. So find the sit bones, feet nice and flat on the ground. Using that Sharpie analogy again, the Sharpie is now sticking out of our chest. So we're drawing as big of a circle as we can with our chest, okay? We want to keep our hips and our neck in a stable, comfortable position. We don't want those things moving around while we're doing this. Placing the hands on the shoulders, we're gonna crunch forward. And there's a really big difference between crunching forward into spinal flexion and leaning forward. We don't wanna lean forward because now we're introducing hip flexion, lower back. We're trying to just utilize that thoracic spine. So I'm actually gonna show you from the side on this one. As we find the sit bones, we crunch forward, we rotate to the left, staying crunched forward. Kind of like the neck, we're gonna start to lift the chest up, and as we do that, we continue to rotate. So now we should be feeling this in the upper back as we go to the top, but again, the common tendency is to look up. Don't do that, keep your chin tucked, so we can make that come from the upper back instead of your neck. We rotate over the opposite hip, crunch down, come back to the beginning. One more time the other way. We crunch forward, rotate, point the chest up as you continue to rotate, chest up towards the ceiling. Again, you should be feeling a lot of upper back. Rotate, come down, and forward. Good. Again, 2 to 3 repetitions. The cool thing about cars is you can do as many as you want. You really can't overdo them. But generally speaking, we keep the repetitions low so the quality stays high. Next is going to be the scapular cars. This is called this because we're mobilizing the shoulder blades, all right? So I want you to imagine you're holding a big beach ball. Your arms are at about a 45-degree angle, and they're also resting on a shelf. The reason for this cue, I'm going to get more centered here. The reason for this cue is as we are drawing the circle with the shoulder blades, we don't want the hands to move up and down, and we don't want to squish the beach ball. We want to stay here, okay? What we're trying to do now is move just the shoulder blades. So using that Sharpie again, the Sharpie is now sticking out of your shoulder. So you're drawing as big of a circle as you can with just the shoulder blade, okay? So again, find those sit bones, arms at a 45-degree angle, resting on the shelf. We squeeze the shoulder blades together, We shrug up. Okay, I'll show you from the side. We push forward, which is called protraction. We bring the shoulder blades down into depression, and then we begin again. We retract, we elevate, so shrug up, protract, which is push forward, and depress. Okay? We're going to do 5 repetitions that way, and then we reverse the motion and do 5 repetitions the other way. So we begin with that protraction, pushing the shoulder blades forward, then we shrug, then we pull back, and then we depress. Push forward, shrug up, pull back, depress. Again, being mindful of your hand position and not moving very much, if at all. All right, next is going to be shoulder cars. So, very important distinction here. We just did the scapular cars, the shoulder blade. Now we're doing the actual ball and socket of your shoulder joint. And they are supposed to work together, but like with the rest of the body, in order to work as a team, they each have to know how to do their job. So the reason why I'm saying this is as we're doing the shoulder car, we want to make sure that we don't see any motion coming from the shoulder blade. We want to shrug up. We want to keep the shoulder blade in a consistent position, okay? So now the Sharpie is sticking out of your fist. I want you to imagine there's a whiteboard right next to you, and you're trying to draw as big of a circle as you can on the whiteboard without moving your torso or your shoulder blade, okay? So here's the specific cues. We lock the elbow out and we face the palm up. What we're doing is we're bringing the hand up as far as we can until we feel resistance, meaning until you're tempted to bend your elbow or you just can't go any farther. You can't really see my hand right now, but once you feel that resistance, you turn the thumb down and then continue that circle. When we get back to the waist here, that's half the rep. Then we come back the other way. Once we feel resistance, we turn, draw the circle. Okay? So from the side, elbow locked out, shoulder blade down. We turn the palm up, come up until we feel resistance. Turn the thumb down once we feel resistance. Continue to draw the circle behind us, so I'm reaching back as my hand's coming down. Once the hand gets to the hip, we go back the other way. Come up until we meet resistance. Turn the thumb out, reach back, and forward. Again, 2 to 3 repetitions on that one per side. Okay, next is going to be hip cars. Now, when we're doing these seated, at least to my knowledge, and there's probably people out there a lot smarter than me that could say differently, but when we're sitting, we're a little bit limited. It's going to be a little harder for us to do the internal rotation and the extension of the hip car. But being that you're probably a beginner doing these the seated car routine, this is a great starting point. All right, so I'm going to back up a little bit. Okay. So we're going to be taking our hip through 2 of the ranges of motion. We're going to be doing flexion, and then what's called abduction, which is bringing the knee out, or really abduction is bringing the limb away from your midline, okay? So we go, I like to, after I find the sit bones, kind of hold onto the chair while I'm doing these, just to better block the rest of the body. We bring the knee up, out, down. Keeping it out, we bring it up. And then as we're bringing it in, we're trying to point the knee up as far as we can and down again, okay? And as we're doing this, especially this abduction portion, we're resisting the urge to go with the knee. We want to resist that and stay here. And what you should be feeling when you're doing this exercise is a lot of hip flexor and a lot of high hip area, kind of that TFL, glute medius, all of this, okay? Nothing in the lower back. 2 to 3 repetitions each side on that. Finally, the last one for today, and again, this is kind of surface level cars, but this is a great starting point, is we're going to do ankle cars from this position. So with this one, you don't really need to have your sit bones. You can kind of lean back a little bit if that helps, okay? We're actually going to reach under the knee, and for some people, they like to grab the shin and underhook the knee with the other hand, or you can just underhook with both hands. The Sharpie is now sticking out of the toes, and without moving the rest of the leg around, we're trying to draw as big of a circle as we can with that Sharpie. So usually we prescribe about 5 repetitions clockwise, 5 repetitions counterclockwise. And again, what we want to avoid is the knee moving around, the hip rotating while we're doing this. We only want to see that ankle moving. And what you should be feeling is a lot of calf and shin muscle activation there. And again, that is 5 each side. So there you go, guys. That is the seated cars routine. This is like brushing your teeth, in that it is a good idea to do every single day, ideally multiple times a day. It's also like brushing your teeth in that it's about the long-term plaque breakdown and plaque prevention. It's also like brushing your teeth in that you don't really get a lot of instant gratification from it. It's more about the long-term effect. You do these for a while daily, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, my neck doesn't really hurt, my shoulder pain is gone, my headaches are gone, those kinds of things. So the encouragement here is stick with it, make it a daily practice, and reap the benefits.